Hi, Paul. Looking sharp and fancy there. Can I ask just about your reason and decision to get involved and how it all came about? You, Andy Farrell, chats, and all of a sudden here you were at the Six Nations Championship club.
Yeah, well, look, I'd be in contact with Andy. I was in the camp last year. I'd be in contact with Simon and a few of the other coaches as well. So Andy asked me after the Autumn Nations would I be interested in getting involved. I took a few weeks to think about it and decided it was the right thing for me to do. You know, I feel I can offer value. I have an awful lot to learn, certainly as a coach, but I felt, I could immediately offer value to the coaching staff and to the players. And it's a great opportunity. I think international coaching it's very different. You know, you get that development opportunity, you get a chance to reflect, you get a chance to improve during the times where you're not coaching and you're not stuck in a tournament. But when you're in the middle of a tournament, it's full on. So yeah, I suppose the big reason is, I felt I could offer value. I suppose my recent connection to playing is you could say it's a weakness, but I think it's a bit of a strength as well. You're still clued into what a player feels and how a player learns and how hard it can be to learn at times and to change a habit. So that was it. I mean, I was excited the minute he rang me, and I think he's got a really good environment here. The players enjoy it incredibly. They're very, a very collaborative approach, which I would have seen when I was in with them last year and whenever I speak to the players, whenever I've met them. So it was a great environment to enjoy, to join, and the opportunity excited me.
I would imagine, from your point of view, it's a very much a hands-on role. I mean, I saw some of the footage of the game that they had against Ulster. You had whistle one hand, hat in your head to stay warm. It looked as if you were very much kind of involved in the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very collaborative. It's amazing how much coaching the players actually do themselves, how educated they are on what's happening, on opposition, on what's happening in the world of rugby, what we need to do and how we have to deliver it. So that's very enjoyable for me, but it's also a challenge for me. You want to be in there running the whole show, but Andy has us questioning the players, checking for understanding all the time. And, when players understand something, they have a better chance of delivering it physically. And that's something he's big into. But, yeah, I suppose, look, forwards coaching and the way Andy does things, everyone is hands-on. So you have to be in the middle of it.
Good man. Thank you.
Hi, Paul. Yeah. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hi,
Spoke there about offering kind of immediate value. Do you feel in an area like the Lineout that you will have an immediate impact and that it will be better Sunday?
I certainly, I certainly hope I'll have an impact in the Lineout, but a big part of Lineout is experience. To be able to see pictures and have the feel of what's going to happen before it happens. You need to be there a lot. You need to see it. You probably need to have a bad few days and learn from them. And I think the Ireland Lineout has been pretty good. There's been a few high-profile losses right on the opposition line, and they're I suppose they're very expensive. You can lose the Lineout on the halfway. You may not have scored from it anyway. You have an amazing chance of scoring from it. But if you have a Lineout 5 metres out, it's an important Lineout. So they've been high-profile losses for the Lineout, and it's been a big learning curve for the players. I mean, I would have went through that as a player as well. And you can do all the analysis and try and put all the systems in place. There is a feel to it, and there is a bit of experience allows you to see the pictures quickly. So that's important for the players. It's an area I have an interest in. I'm familiar with the system that we would use. It's evolved from when I played. But I suppose that there's a little bits and pieces in all the provinces that we steal and poach off each other. So I have a familiarity with the system. So yeah, it's I like to think I can offer value there. It takes a bit of pressure off Simon, obviously, as well. That was a big part for me to be able to come in and know there'd be a really good handover because he was moving to defence. And you have that, anything you do or you see that we've done in the past, you're able to find out the real reason it was done because Simon is beside you. So that makes the transition easier as well.
And one of the aspects, obviously, is dealing with injuries. Obviously, we got the news today about Quinn Roux and Caelan Doris. What kind of setback is that, and how long will they be out for?
I don't know how long they'll be out for. Caelan's obviously flagged concussion symptoms, so he's gone back to Leinster. He'll go through the procedures and protocols there and get checked. And Quinn has a neck injury, so he'll have to go back and get checked. There are two injuries you don't ever want to be messing around with. You have to be careful. So I'm not sure. We've no length of time on either of them, and it's frustrating for them and frustrating for us. Caelan's obviously a fantastic player. I would have worked with him in the under-20s. He was incredible, and he has that X factor, and you need those players in World Rugby now. Quinn, I played against Quinn towards the end of my time, and he was excellent. We had a laugh about my last game, I think against Connacht. I lost to him in the sports ground, and he was brilliant that day. And he's a big man. Great ideas in the line out, so well coached by Jimmy Duffy up in Connacht. So it's been disappointing not to have him in, or not to have him in now going forward. But we have no time frame on when they'll be back.
Hi, Paul. It's Ruth Gorman here from UTV. Great to see you
Hi.
back.
Thank you.
I just wondered about Iain Henderson. What your plan is with working with Iain? We know how good he can be, but I suppose consistency's been a big issue there. Just what can you do to help Iain with that?
Well, I think a big part of consistency is being injury-free. He's in a work rate position where the fitter you are, the more you can deliver. And he's been unlucky with injuries. He's obviously a big man. We don't breed them all as big as him. So he's really valuable for us. He's been really impressive since I've come in terms of his work rate in terms of training, but his work rate off the field in terms of the analysis he does and the opinions he has. You have to be very sharp with him. So, the best thing for Iain would be for him to stay injury-free and allow him to build some form. And that's a challenge for all players nowadays. But when I look back, some of the guys over the last few years, the guys that have been injury-free and have been able to accumulate the sharpness and the fitness required to be able to play relentlessly for 80 minutes, they're the consistent players.
Hi, Paul. Jenny Hurley here from RTE. How are you? One of the questions, Paul, that I would have had is obviously you've been in there before, but obviously coming back in a formal role. How different is it, and are there difficulties in coaching lads who you would have played with? Because obviously there's still plenty of them around.
I would hope not. I'm sure there will be challenges down the line when you have to have difficult conversations with people. But, Andy's said over and over again, players just want you to be honest with them. And if you're wrong, hold your hand up. And that's what I intend to do. I don't intend to take a big coach-player relationship with them. I intend to deliver them as much honest feedback as I can. I intend to try and improve them as players as much as I can. And I have to be myself in delivering that, and not try to be something else to them. Some of these guys I've known for a long time. Some of these guys are good friends of mine. But I just have to be honest with them, straight up with them, positively constructive with them, and that should maintain the relationship.
The other question, Paul, is around the environment. You mentioned it there and just how it's evolved. What are the differences that you see between how Andy is running things versus how Joe would have run things when you were in there?
Well, I suppose we're in the HPC now, and that has actually made a big change to it because you've pitch side televisions in the indoor pitch here. You've TVs in the gym, so you're able to have these mini meetings, these short meetings where you go from a meeting to a little bit of technical work, back to a meeting to a little bit of technical work. So there was going to be a natural change anyway from when Joe finished to when Andy took over. I suppose when we had meetings with Joe, he loved the meeting. He was box office when he delivered, and he was always trying to keep everything under 30 minutes. So there wasn't a lot of questions, but I always enjoyed then debating things after the meeting with him, and I never felt like I couldn't question him or argue with him, and I loved his environment. And it's probably just similar here. It's probably shorter meetings because there's more time for questioning. And in fairness, the question that Tom O'Toole asks in a meeting today, and the answer he gets is probably a question that 7 or 8 people should be asking as well. So it's probably good that we have those discussions and debates, and that's the way players learn now. You know, it isn't about long meetings. You know, it's short, sharp meetings. They watch things on their phone. You know, you can send them things on their phone. That wasn't there towards the end of my time when I retired. It was, you know, we were into a meeting, we were into the group, we had a meeting, it was generally a half an hour long, and then the questioning would happen afterwards over dinner, over lunch, or whatever that was. So it's different here, and it's more, look, I think the Crusaders have been very good at it from when you chat to Rod. It's collaborative, trying to get players to coach, trying to get them to own what they're doing. You know, if someone can coach something, explain it really well to someone else, they know what they're doing. And it's a great way to check for their learning and their understanding.
Okay, guys, we'll just take the last one in this section from Neil Tracy has his hand up there.
Hi, Paul. Just to go back to when you were saying to Michael about how when Andy Farrell offered you the job and you took a few weeks, did the offer itself come as a surprise to you?
It probably did, yeah. It probably did. Yeah, I would speak to him a lot, and I'd speak to other coaches a lot. I'm always, you know, I just find watching the game interesting and finding out, you know, even the rugby matches that people find boring these days where there's a lot of kicking, I always find it interesting trying to figure out why teams are doing what they're doing. There's generally a logical reason behind it. So I'd always be picking up the phone to coaches. So, but we hadn't ever discussed that. So it was a surprise.
Okay, thanks, guys. We're going to go into the part of the written word section now. Okay, thanks, guys. Jerry, you put your hand up there.